Okay, Dean Rusk disagrees with you, and he was the Secretary of State at the time, but that's fine.
The communist nations have exploited the turmoil of a time of transition in an effort to extend communist control into other areas of the world.
Thoughts on Dean Rusk and America's involvement in Vietnam? I know next to nothing about that.
Exactly. The media have spent over a year trashing law enforcement in this country. Every reprobate imaginable, miscreant, malcontent, whether professors or otherwise, members of Black Lives Matter, are brought on TV to tell us how bad the cops are. Except for, apparently, the Capitol Hill police. Because those police deserve a congressional gold medal. Not the police who were trying to defend the Portland Federal Building. Not the police who tried to defend their own precincts in every city in this country virtually. Not the Park Police and the Secret Service who defended the White House from attacks on the White House. No, they don't deserve anything except to be trashed. And I remember what took place in Portland, and I remember what Pelosi and Clyburn had to say, the number 1 and number 3 Democrats in the House, who now want to hand out gold medals. And I want to remind you, because it was only 1 year ago, June 2020, when Nancy Pelosi compared federal law enforcement that was trying to protect a federal courthouse, violent armed insurrection, stormtroopers. Cut 15, go.
I said they acted like stormtroopers, and they did, and my colleagues have said that as well. What is it? I'm an organizer. That's how I came into all of this, chair of the California Democratic Party. And peaceful protest is who we are and what we do. And do some other people come along and try to disrupt? Yes. But you don't send in people acting like stormtroopers into the scene and evoking even more unease and unrest.
I see. So the men and women in uniform trying to protect that courthouse day in and day out under attack, physical, violent attack by Black Lives Matter and Antifa. They're acting like stormtroopers. They don't get gold medals. Not a congressional gold medal. No, they're stormtroopers. They're Nazis. That's what stormtroopers are, Nazis. And she wasn't alone. James Clyburn. 1 month later, July 2020, cut 16, go.
Nobody asked the federal government to come into Portland. Nobody asked them to come to Seattle. This is something that's made up out of whole cloth by this administration as an excuse for sending in stormtroopers in order to incite people.
So, the President of the United States, in order to protect federal property, sends in federal authorities, doesn't even use the Insurrection Act, and by trying to protect property in Portland and Seattle against violent insurrectionists who the Democrats supported time and time again. Clyburn called them stormtroopers in no uncertain terms, a.k.a. Nazis. And he did it again. Cut 17, go.
John Lewis's life was down there taken away from him on the Edmund Pettus Bridge at a time when only 2% of the African Americans in Alabama were registered to vote. He was trying to get the vote for black people in Alabama and was met by a mob of police officers. This president is demonstrating once again with sending stormtroopers into Portland and other cities. He's doing the same thing today that John Lewis fought against in Selma, Alabama.
What a sick mind that is, on 2 counts. So using federal law enforcement to protect federal property as well as other property is like Bull Connor? And so does that mean Antifa and Black Lives Matter and their violence and their Marxism and their desire to overthrow the country and their anti-Semitism and anti-Americanism? Is that what John Lewis fought for? Clyburn? No, I don't think so. And once again, the stormtroopers, the reference to Nazis. But ladies and gentlemen, 21 Republicans voted against a congressional gold medal for the officers who defended the Capitol building. We would like to see 14,000 hours or so of videotape, wouldn't you, ladies and gentlemen? To see what officers did what. Because we don't teach in schools anymore, and because the media do not report anymore, you would believe that January 6th really was an insurrection. Because you listen to an attorney general who is a loathsome leftist, formerly dressed up as a federal judge. Now he's out of the closet. You would think that the greatest fear we have is what took place on January 6th, when unarmed people entered the House building. Now look, I denounced it, and I continue to denounce it, particularly the attacks on the cops. But that's not my point. There were real efforts at insurrection. And they were Democrats. On March 1, 1954, 4 Puerto Rican...
Police hurried to America's House of Representatives in Washington following an attack by 3 Puerto Ricans, including Rafael Miranda, who fired on the senators in the chamber. Fellow gunman Andres Condero and the woman member of the trio Lolita Lebron are hustled away from the menacing crowd. Firing more than 20 rounds from their Luger automatics, the 3 fanatics seriously wounded 5 senators. Ambulances are rushed to the Capitol, along with doctors from a nearby naval hospital. Alvin Bentley, wounded near the shows where a bullet ripped into his desk. Another round splintered the back of a congressman's chair. Representative Van Zandt, who helped capture one of the gunmen, points out where a bullet smashed through a chassis after wounding one of the congressmen. Police staff say Howard Luger was hidden in Lolita LeBron's handbag when she entered the visitors' gallery before the attack. The other assailants' guns are held as evidence. At police headquarters, reporters learned that a fourth member of the team, Irving Flores, has been arrested. Another Puerto Rican has since been accused of threatening to kill President Eisenhower. Still defiant and still unrepentant, Mrs. LeBron and her partners made the attack to draw attention to Puerto Rico's demands for complete independence. Now all three assailants are awaiting trial for attempted murder.
But then what happened? President Jimmy Carter commuted one of their sentences in 1977 and granted clemency to the other three in 1979. Hey, what happened to an attack on the Capitol building? 5 members of the House of Representatives were shot. They were injured. But Jimmy Carter, a Democrat, commuted the sentence of one and granted clemency to the other 3. Wow. On March 1, 1971, 17 years later, a bomb exploded in the Capitol building.
For a report on the first serious damage to the nation's foremost structure since the British burned it in 1814, here is ABC congressional correspondent Bob Clark.
There was alarm for a time that other bombs might still be hidden inside the Capitol. Police used dogs specially trained to sniff out explosives in a painstaking search both inside and outside the building. The single bomb set off by a timing device left the men's room a shambles, plumbing demolished, bricks and plaster ripped from walls. Army and FBI experts sifted the debris, seeking a clue to the nature of the explosive. There was heavy damage to the nearby barber shop. Windows were smashed there, and 100 feet away in the Senate restaurant, where tables were overturned and a priceless stained glass mosaic destroyed. Damage estimated in the hundreds of thousands of dollars might have been far worse, but for the 3-foot-thick walls in the oldest part of the Capitol. As it was, the violent explosion ripped off doors in nearby conference rooms. There was no damage to the Senate chamber itself on the floor above. Daylight revealed more smashed windows and debris. Tourists were barred from the Senate wing all day, but the entire Capitol will be reopened to the public as soon as possible.
Credit for the Capitol bombing was claimed in a letter received by the Associated Press today, signed by the Weather Underground and postmarked Elizabeth, New Jersey.
A bomb? The Weather Underground? Isn't that Bill Ayers and Dorn's group? Aren't those Obama's buddies? Yes, they are.
Barack Obama and domestic terrorist Bill Ayers. Friends. They've worked together for years. But Obama tries to hide it. Why? Obama launched his political career in Ayers' living room. Ayers and Obama ran a radical education foundation together. They wrote the foundation's bylaws together. Obama was the foundation's first chairman. Reports say they distributed more than $100 million to ideological allies with no discernible improvement in education. When their relationship became an issue, Obama just responded, "This is a guy who lives in my neighborhood." That's it? We know Bill Ayers ran the violent left-wing activist group called Weather Underground. We know Ayers' wife was on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. We know they bombed the Capitol, the Pentagon, a judge's home. We know Ayers said, "I don't regret setting bombs. I feel we didn't do enough." But Obama's friendship with terrorist Ayers isn't the issue. The issue is Barack Obama's judgment and candor. When Obama just says, "This is a guy who lives in my neighborhood," Americans say, "Where's the truth, Barack?"
A bomb. And the intention, according to Ayers, was, with all the bombings, to overthrow the government of the United States. That's an insurrection. Here's 2 insurrections. Isn't it amazing? In the first case, Jimmy Carter basically pardons them all. In the second case, it involves one of the masterminds, Barack Obama's buddy. Wow. No wonder they don't discuss this on TV. 13 years later, on November 7, 1983, a bomb tore through the second floor of the Senate wing of the Capitol. I believe it was near Robert Byrd's office. They ran legal, but we'll get into that another day.
November 7th, 1983. In an attempt to kill Senate Republicans, the May 19th Communist Organization detonated a bomb inside of the Capitol. a woman named Susan Rosenberg was arrested and charged for this crime. Susan would later be pardoned by President Bill Clinton. Susan then went on to be an administrator and fundraiser for a Marxist organization, none other than Black Lives Matter. So whenever you get a comment talking about the insurrection, January 6th, just respond to them November 7th, 1983. It's the only response you owe them.
Wow! 1954, 1971, 1983, real live shootings and bombings by the Marxist left. And several of them were pardoned by Jimmy Carter. And one of the people, one of the masterminds, is Barack Obama's close friend and political mentor. But 21 Republicans voted no on this bill, ladies and gentlemen. Here you have the Speaker, the #1 Democrat in the House, and the #3 Clyburn calling federal law enforcement stormtroopers while they're trying to defend government property and other property. Here you have a Democrat president pardoning Puerto Rican terrorists. Here you have another Democrat president, friends, political allies, associates with a domestic terrorist. Isn't it amazing? But you see, January 6th is the day we must remember. January 6th. I would remind the phony Attorney General of the United States. Chase down the Klansmen. Chase down the neo-Nazis. Conservatives, Republicans, constitutionalists have nothing to do with them. We reject them. In fact, we reject all violence. But apparently, sir, you do not. Because you excused what happened in Portland in your testimony to become Attorney General. You said that wasn't domestic terrorist because it happened at night. Night? That's the distinction? This guy was a judge? The Democrat Party is filled with violence and hate and racism and poison. That is who they are. To have this phony Attorney General, phony President of the United States, phony Speaker of the House, phony Clyburn and the rest of them act like they care about the cops. They only care about the cops when the cops are defending them. The rest of America can go to hell. They only care about the military when the National Guard can be called in to ring the Capitol building. And we still don't know to this day what Nancy Pelosi knew and when she knew it. How in the hell was she unaware that there was going to be a massive protest on the Capitol grounds? The whole world knew it. Apparently, she did. What did she do about it? She has spent more time trying to create a narrative after the fact than trying to address a protest before and during the fact. That tells you a lot. The Democrat Party, including its presidents, have embraced violence directly or indirectly. Tell me, how many Republican presidents do you know who are friends with domestic terrorists? How many Republican presidents do you know who have pardoned terrorists, including terrorists who attacked the Capitol building? I know of none. None.
Grud ma